nothing else.
Now, Newcomer normally plays on a line with Scott Reddy and Mike Kempler, but Don Roberts has been around a while, knows that line's going to get checked. So tonight for the start of the game, he has to move one guy. So sort of compliment, he says, hey, if I got to move one guy, I'm going to move Newcomer.
Yeah, and Don has traditionally moved people around. He's one of those coaches that says, if you're going to put a checking line on, who are you going to put it on? We'll move our players around, and I'll adjust as the game goes if things aren't working well.
From the St. Thomas point of view, defense has been a big part of the game this year, and they don't come any bigger than Craig Quinlan, who's had himself a pretty good season.
Craig is a very strong player, was a very solid performer for Terry Skripek over at Hillmurray, and followed his old coach over to the University of St. Thomas when Terry moved over. And I'm sure Terry's glad he did.
Well, he's recovered, it seems now, almost totally from that wrist injury. And a year ago, Mike, when we were here, we were watching a guy named Jeff Miller, who turned out to be the MVP of this conference. But Terry Skripek had a little work to do on the defense, and Quinlan has really come to help out. As always, too, it seems to come down to the goaltenders, and we've got two of the best in the league. Brett Newcomb of Gustavus was an all-conference goaltender a year ago, and Scott Haar statistically led the league. They're both among the leaders again.
Yeah, and that's the strength of both of these teams, is their defense and their goaltending. Both of them are way above all the other teams in the conference in terms of goals against. And that's going to be a factor here tonight. I don't look for this to be a very high-scoring game at all.
So it's the Gusties and the Tommies, and goals may be at a premium. We'll be back with the opening face-off after this timeout on City Vision.
Quality Control wants us over at Tower 5. They're upgrading reception again.
Tower 5 is 517 feet tall, Ed.
At Continental Cablevision, we'll go to any length to make sure your picture's perfect.
I don't see those guys from Quality Control around, Ed. I do.
You don't suppose they'll come down for this, do you, Ed? Do you?
Continental Cablevision. We're number one because we make you number one.
And we're underway from the State Fair Coliseum. We're glad you could be with us. Dave Wright with Mike Funk on City Vision. St. Thomas moving left to right, and off the opening face-off, the Gusties dump at the length of the ice. Scott Reddy can't catch up with it, and icing is called, and the face-off will come back to the right of goaltender Brett Newcomb, the junior from Verona. He played in high school hockey at Edgewood. And a reminder that the opening face-off, well, we'll get to that a little bit later on. The face-off will come to the right now of the Gustavus goal, Brian Hansen. We mentioned it at the top, Mike. Dave Newcomer switched off that line, and Hansen, a pretty good right winger in his play.
He's going to keep moving his lines around just to find the right combination and get things going tonight.
Blummer forces into the corner. Jim Karsten behind the net for St. Thomas. Bumps along the boards with Eric Hendrickson. Karsten now drops it back and is picked off by Kempler. Ferretti at center, broken up by Quinlan. Back at his own blue line, this is Brad Hendrickson. Dumped at the center, and Quinlan clears it right back in. Now it's Craig Quinlan again. Comes to the blue line on a 4-on-2. Looks for the middle. Karsten over to the left side of Blummer. Now Karsten will chase it into the right wing corner. Dumped behind the net, picked up there by Kempler. Puck came back out in front, and it's held at the point and back to center ice. And on it there is Karsten. Jim Karsten sends it back in the Gustavus zone. The first line changes of the night. At the right point, Jacobs a shot, and that one is held on to by Newcomb. Tom Jacobs, who has probably as much incentive as anybody in this hockey game, Mike, the junior from Washburn, who played for Gustavus as a freshman. A reminder that this game, as always, is brought to you by Devani's Pizza and Hot Hoagies, located a block from St. Thomas at the corner of Cleveland and Grand. On your next trip in, mention that you saw this ad on City Vision and receive 10% off your order. Right there, a good hot hoagie, perhaps, on the way home. Can we get that discount?
Yeah, I hope
special
so.
announcer's discount, right? Craig Mishy chasing behind the net. Coach Heaver pins at the point, but the Gusties dump at the length of the ice. Chasing it down is Jacobs. And icing is waved off. Jacobs pulls from behind. The first penalty of the game will come on Gustavus. It will be a boarding call. And it's probably a very fortunate thing for Brad Johnson that is a boarding call, because if that was checking from behind, that would have been a major.
It's an automatic 5-minute major this year, one of the new rule changes that was instituted by the NCAA.
Mike Timmer it is, actually, who is the penalized player, and we'll take a good look at it here, and this is textbook boarding.
Follows him all the way in, and you can see him as the defenseman pulls up to stop. 19, Mike Timmer gives him the ride right into the boards.
So the Tommy power play, which has been a very impressive power play, hitting at 27%, goes to work. Play deep in the St. Thomas zone, and they'll set it up there. Sean Rice, number 11, and Craig Quinlan, 16, play the points, and it's Quinlan with the puck. Now to Jim Karsten. Karsten chases it into the left wing corner, holds up, drops it back to the point, and Rice feeds it now for Blummer to Fabian. Pat Fabian behind the net, back over now for Jeff Blummer. St. Thomas on the first power play of the night, and the puck slides back to center, and Rice will regroup. Sean Rice, sophomore from Bloomington Jefferson, 9 games, 6 goals. But the loose puck is picked up by Paul Harkins and dumped back to the St. Thomas blue line. Fabian, left wing feed for Kent Roberts. Dropped it back for Rice, and Rice will circle at center. Blummer's on the right point. The loose puck picked up by Andy Shriver, and he dumps it down on goal. Har has to make his first save. Albeit they'll never come any easier than that. Blummer, now for Wohlers. Left wing side for Kent Roberts. At the face-off circle, poked free by Newcomer. Wohlers from the point, and he dumps it behind the goal. Vichy looking for Marshall, finds him at the right face-off circle. Back to the right point, and Wohlers. Now for Scott Marshall, a shot, and that was deflected out of play by goaltender Newcomb. The gentlemen who are calling tonight's gameplay of the Minneapolis Association, Bruce Lynn and Mark Whipple, left and right respectively. The referees, Rolf Erickson in the middle of the linesman, Bruce Lynn, of course, longtime Gopher player, Gopher assistant coach, who's made the jump into officiating. These two are the more colorful officials you're going to see.
Very much so. They'll keep this game under tight control tonight.
And if we could mic them, we wouldn't have to say anything between these two, right?
They'll keep talking to the players, let them know that they're there and that they're watching.
30 seconds remaining in the penalty time to Timmer. One last rush for the St. Thomas power play. Marshall has Roberts on the left, and it's offside. Craig Mishy it was, who couldn't hold it on the right side.
This is going to be an interesting aspect of the game tonight, Dave, is the power play and the penalty killing. The last time these two teams met was in the Thanksgiving tournament. St. Thomas won 4-3, but
get them all on the power play.
They get them all on the power play, especially late in the game on a 5-minute power play.
There was a penalty to Greg Treble very late in the game. That proved to be the difference. Now the Tommies go back behind their own net with Jim Kochever. Kochever's right wing pass for Jacobs. Jacobs comes to the blue line and over goes to the corner, drops it back for Mishy, and the puck is shot the length of the ice by Kepler, and the penalty to Timber is over, and Gustavus is at full strength. The Tommies really didn't get much going on that first power.
They really never got anything set up.
Now the loose puck at center for Mishy. Stood up at the blue line by Eric Running, and it goes in offside. Let's take a look briefly at the scoring in the MIAC, and you see two St. Thomas names at the top. One familiar, Jeff Blummer. One not so familiar, Pat Fabian.
Well, Pat Fabian was traditionally a grinder for St. Thomas his first 3 years, and this year has taken on a new role, that of a scorer.
We'll be talking, in fact, to Fabian and Blummer, and in our second intermission tonight, Pat Fabian, who's the newest member of St. Thomas's 100-point club, 22nd member to join it with a goal and 3 assists on Saturday night. And it was a game notable because it was a game in which his father did not get into a fight in the stands as he did at Madison. Now to play deep into St. Thomas end. Dilbeck is set for a ride. Chris Lindsay plays it back to center. Eric running at his own blue line for Gustavus is battered around by Tyler Zimmerman, who chased behind the net. Now Chris calls to center ice. Flipped in by Timmer. And as it is, play is called, and there's going to be a slashing penalty, the first penalty of the game, on St. Thomas. It will come at 4:29.
I believe it's Tyler Zimmerman who's going to get the penalty for slashing.
Tyler Zimmerman, young freshman from Matamidi, who played junior hockey for Madison of the Junior League. He and his twin brother Jason here, Tyler, playing just his second game for St. Thomas. The other game he played as a defenseman.
Well, we'll get an opportunity to see Gustavus' power play again, another power play that's hitting on about a 27% average.
And there's that man Newcomer at the right point. Left point is Brad Henderson. That's a man to keep an eye on. He's got 7 goals on the power play this year. Scott Reddy, the center, Eric Rotting on the left. And on the right is Kepler. Gustavus power play, the first of the game. Reddy drops it back to Newcomer. Slides it back into the right-hand corner, and Kepler. Now Kepler at the face-off circle. Works it to the side, and Har makes his first big save off Reddy. Gustavus power play broken up by Rice. Rice ahead for Marshall. Scott Marshall over the line, runs into Newcomer. They both go down. And the loose puck corralled by Gimpler. 5 minutes gone in the first period. No score. Newcomer got it ahead to center ice. For Reddy. Back for Newcomer. Has a lane. Lets it go and fires it wide to the right. Quinlan slapped it up along the boards and all the way down the ice. You think that's the way Terry Skrybek wants it, to let Newcomer come up like that?
I don't think so. I think if you're going to pick somebody that you're going to let walk down the middle of the rink, it's not going to be Newcomer.
And you look over the bench, Jeff Besser seems to be making that same point to Nick Wohlers. I mean, that was a Red Sea type party for Newcomer, but he misfired. Brad Hendrickson now ahead for Ronnick, and it's broken up at center ice and shot right back in by Jacobs. 45 seconds remaining in the penalty to Tyler Zimmerman. No score. St. Thomas and Gustavus, first place on the line in the MIAC. Kepler has the opening. Gets to the blue line and over. Jacobs knocked it down. Loose puck rolled to Brad Hendrickson. Behind the net now for Reddy. And Reddy shot it up the left wing side. Karsten cleared it ahead. The loose puck is being raced for by Lindsay, and he'll get there first. 20 seconds remain in the penalty. And the puck is finally picked up by Ronnick, who drops it back for Newcomer. Newcomer with one last rush. Now Newcomer at the blue line is tied up briefly. Put the shot on goal hard, knocked it away. Puck rolled back toward the corner. Played now by Brad Hendrickson. Zimmerman back on, and the Tommies at full strength. Paul Harkins along the board. Now for Brad Hendrickson. Playing around to the open left wing side. Scott Salisbury. Bumped there by Jacobs. And Fabian knocked the puck clear to center. Fabian with the 3-on-2 to Blummer. He's got Roberts on the left. Back for Fabian. Deflected on goal. And the first big save of the night by Newcomb. Blummer in the left wing corner. Put it back in the slot for Roberts. He's tied up. And the Gusties come up with a loose puck. It's Harkins. At center ice, he did some bumping with Deerbeck, but got the puck deep into St. Thomas' end. 7 minutes gone in this first period. No score. Blummer along the boards with Brian Hansen. Remember, no Freezy along the boards now in either college or high school hockey. Belloc knocked down Salisbury. There's going to be a penalty here, and I believe it's going to be on Salisbury as the puck is batted back in the zone by Harkins. There's going to be a penalty on Gustavus. It's a high sticking call, and it will go against Brian Hansen. Salisbury had been the one flattened at the blue line, and Hansen seeked umbrage, and he got caught.
That's right. You don't retaliate, especially when you're right in front of the official.
Bruce Lynn was right there. They used the two-referee, one-linesman system in college hockey. Brian Hansen, a guy who St. Thomas has a lot of respect for. You know one thing, when he comes out of the Grand Rapids program, he's well-schooled in the fundamentals.
You know that he can skate. You know that he's got a pretty good stick. He can move the puck fairly well.
Second penalty of the game on Gustavus. Face-off will be to the right of goaltender Brett Newcomb, junior from Corona, Wisconsin, just outside Madison. Off the face-off, Drake Treble along the boards, faked back into the corner by Wohlers. Now Marshall takes behind the net with Andy Shriver. They both go down, and the loose puck is shot all the way down the ice by Gempler. And even shooting 170 feet away, he's accurate. He put that one on goal.
Another one of those easy saves.
Yes, very well. Now,
as long as it doesn't bounce.
As an ex-goalie, there are no easy saves, right?
Right.
Marshall puts it in front of the goal, and Mishy misfires. Loose puck now to Roberts. Drops it back to Coach Heaver. Walks to the left, bothered there by Newcomer. Plays it back behind the net. And Scott Marshall to the left of Newcomb. Marshall and Andy Shriver along the boards. Mishy with the hit, but Kempler just shot it all the way down. Haar comes out and plays it for Wohlers. Now to Mishy, ahead to Marshall. Deep in the Gustavus zone it goes. Loose puck now to Brad Hendrickson, and he fires it all the way down the ice. Second power play of the night for St. Thomas, and neither one has been particularly effective. Now Eric Hendrickson with a try. A long flip by the freshman, and Haar sends it back to the corner. Greg Quinlan circles behind the net. Now to Karsten. Karsten gets it to the blue line and over. Now for Blummer. Drops it back. Rice open at the point. Flips to the right side, and Quinlan puts it in the middle, and Karsten with the shot, and Newcomb got the glove out there and held on. Well, here's the playback times. If you don't have the tape from the VCR on this Friday night, Gustavus and St. Thomas, the game will be replayed on Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon at noon on City Vision Channel 10. Here's that last scoring opportunity, and it turned out to be a pretty good one. Newcomb with the save.
Nice little deflection by Karsten in the middle of the slot.
Penalty coming up here on Fabian. Off the face-off, he dumped Brad Hendrickson, and Pat Fabian will go. Pat Fabian, as we've talked about a couple times during this season, Mike, no stranger to the penalty box, but this year has been a different story. He has just 20 minutes of penalty. This off a guy who had 72 minutes a year ago.
This year he's become more of an offensive player. He's forgot about going
Minor
into the
penalty.
corner and the
St. Thomas,
grinding,
number
and
35.
he's changed
Pat
roles.
Fabian, 2 minutes for holding.
Well, as he'll tell you in the second intermission, he's really taken up the leadership mantle. Now, he's a guy, of course, Mike, that you know very well because you coached him at St. Thomas Academy, and just a delight to be around, isn't he?
He's a great kid. He's a very hard worker and will never hurt you in terms of his effort.
Well, no, effort is one thing that nobody has ever questioned on Pat Fabian. Here's Wohlers with a steal behind it, and he centered it. Comes over to Quinlan, a try, and that's broken up by Chris Coles. And there's going to be a penalty here. I believe this will go against Gustavus.
No, I believe it's just marking where the faceoff is going to be.
Corrected just on a hand pass.
Excellent job by Chris Coles of stepping through and blocking the shot.
Coles, the senior from Forest Lake, played for Dan Forsythe. 4 seconds remaining in the penalty. There's Don Roberts in his 27th year.
The elder statesman of the league this year.
Well, he needs one victory for 300 MIAC career ends. Could get it tonight. He'll be a first in this conference. Tommy's on a power play, or rather the Gusties on a power play, as their penalty has ended. Quinlan from the point. Blocked in front by Brian Hansen, and Hansen starts away. Brian Hansen with Salisbury. Hansen loses control at the face-off circle, and Wohlers circles back. Nick Wohlers in some trouble, and Salisbury steals it from him. Puck is loose at the blue line, shot in on delayed offside, and Ross Nelson starts out. Now Nelson can't control, and the puck throws back into the Gustavus end. There's your time remaining first period. No score in the game. 55 seconds remaining in the penalty time to Fabian. Puck still loose in center. Treble is taken down. Here comes Marshall on a 2-on-1 with Rice. Marshall to Rice in front of the goal, and the puck just skipped away at the last second. Rice maybe in a hair too tight. Salisbury, 2-on-2 with Harkins. Salisbury drops it back. Brian Hansen back to the point. Treble a shot. And Har caught that one and held on. 9:33 to play in the first period. There is no score.
Jim Kochevar did a nice job on that last shot of riding the interference out in front of the goaltender, Scott Harr, so Scott Harr could see the puck all the way in.
There's the flag on the back of Brett Newcomb's helmet.
All of the Gusties have flags on their helmets for our troops.
Overseas. Now the play is still deep in the St. Thomas end. 25 seconds remaining in the penalty. Karsten looking to bring it out of the pile. Still tied up along the boards. Karsten doing most of the work, but it's finally snaked ahead to center on a heads-up play by Jacob. Now Brad Johnson circles back. 8 seconds remaining in the penalty. Rather, it's ready. Penalty coming up here. It will be on Karsten as he dumped Derek Groning. The play comes in the zone, and with 1 second remaining in the penalty to Fabian, Jim Karsten is going to go right back in.
This is going to be an
Will
interesting
another power
call.
play.
Going to call a check from behind.
Minor checking from behind.
And you hit right on it, Mike. I believe he's going to give him the 5.
I believe he's going to call it a minor checking from behind because it was out in the middle of the rink.
Minor penalty.
let's take a look at it.
Number
Yep, you're right.
21, Jim Karsten. 2 minutes for checking from behind. Time of penalty, 10:57. Karsten of the Tommy for checking from behind at 10:57.
Minor penalty, so St. Thomas is still going to be one man short.
And there'll be one man short for a minute and 50. Har came up with a loose puck, and he's got an opening for Marshall. Now here comes Scott Marshall out for Rice on the right wing. Rice got as far as the blue line, and Newcomer took it away from him. Marshall played it back to center. Picked up now by Brad Hendrickson. Left wing for Reddy. Face-off circle. Reddy a shot. He hit the pipe. Went off Har and hit the pipe and went out of play. From where we're sitting, we had a good angle at that. That puck just nipped the edge of Har's pad. Bounced off that time a rather fortunate goal post.
Just had enough of it You get a little piece of it and cause it to rise a little bit when off the top pipe. When those pipes are working for you, you really appreciate it. Gets a little piece of it, takes a little high hop.
Almost off the crossbar.
That's right.
There's the benches right next to each other here. Gary Skripek in the middle on the far left. In his 4th year as the Tommies head coach. Gusty's on their 3rd power play. Harkins back to the point now in Salisbury for Harkins. Behind the net, Hansen slides it back for Harkins. Instead it rolls to Salisbury. He's tied up there by Lindsay. At the right point, Nelson a shot. Saved by Har, and the rebound is covered up with Brian Hansen right there on his doorstep.
Again, Scott Har got a little help this time from Nick Wohlers, who tied up the free man in front of the net, so he couldn't get a solid piece of the rebound.
Take a look at it here. Pretty much textbook when coaches talk about tying up, this is what they mean, right?
As soon as there's a long shot, you know your goaltender is going to have a rebound. You want somebody to tie him up a little bit. He got just a piece of his arm as he went in to try and put something on the puck.
Hansen on the face-off with Marshall. Marshall goes down. Nelson plays it for Salisbury. On the give and go with Hansen. And Hansen still has the puck. Back now to the right point of Nelson. Left side for Treble. Into the left wing corner. Skips over Harkins. Salisbury catches up with it. Now back it goes to the left point of Treble. Right side to Ross Nelson. He has the lane, doesn't shoot. Puck is tipped